it shouldn't be any shocking news or revelation that who will govern Gaza is going to be what determines every single move going forward.
Arab nations reported to be trying to put together a peace plan with a two-state solution as a goal and Saudi recognition of Israel as an inducement. Can you tell us more about what's going on?
Well, to start, you had mentioned it about an hour ago. It looks like that has already been scuttled by Prime Minister Netanyahu. He said he opposes a Palestinian state in any form. This is language that we've heard from his far-right government and the wings that support him, that brought him back to election last year, even before this war began, that they opposed, this bloc opposed any sort of concessions to the Palestinian cause, and that they would even break away from the current government and force another election if there were significant concessions. So it seems like this is entirely a non-starter within Israel. However, the incentives and certainly what the U.S. has reportedly been pushing for this normalization with Saudi Arabia would be a big milestone, but not one that, especially right now, as deep as this current government is entrenched in its hard line against Hamas and its operations in Gaza, does not appear that there's going to be significant concessions anytime soon.
No, indeed. And no one could expect that with the Israeli government led by Netanyahu entrenched
Exactly.
in the hardline position that it's taking, and with the war raging as it is raging. However, I suppose we're seeing the Arab nations, with the Americans joining in the effort in many ways, putting down a marker and lighting a way for the future, as they would hope. Certainly Saudi recognition of Israel, that is an important inducement and has been a goal of Israel, has it not?
It has, even before this war. Again, when in September, when the Prime Minister spoke in front of the United Nations, the image that we remember from that is him holding up the map of the new Middle East, which paints in green Saudi Arabia all the way to Israel with these partnerships, strategic partnerships, trade, military. Saudi has a nuclear program that it wants to get up and going. This is the sort of partnership that was envisioned before the war. Doesn't seem that these strategic ties are now evaporated because of the war. There's certainly interest on both sides, but there's some acknowledgement that needs to be made about how far things have come even before this conflict. I mean, you couldn't even dial an Israeli extension in Saudi Arabia. You couldn't dial the country code.
Yes.
Up until 2020. So significant moments here. Just the war, the current conflict, it seems like everything's on hold.
And now, what do you make of the Palestinian Authority on the West Bank, making it clear they are, in principle, in theory, willing to contemplate taking authority over Gaza?
It's going to be, I think, the main sticking point here is, and it shouldn't be any shocking news or revelation, that who will govern Gaza is going to be what determines every single move going forward. I still don't think that, based on the actions and the statements of the current government, the Israeli government, that they have intentions to allow there to be any other governorship over the Gaza Strip. At least in the short term,
Sure.
It seems as though their public comments are saying they will control the Gaza Strip, what's left of it that they haven't destroyed. So allowing the PA into the Gaza Strip, that's certainly that's going to be a big question.
Right, with missiles and bombs dropping, it's difficult to talk about the state of opinion among Palestinians. But how do you read the idea of the Palestinian Authority taking over theoretically at some point in the future from Hamas, as it was in Gaza? How would that play with Palestinians? Do you imagine?
I think that would play. It's hard to say, because when my time in the West Bank, there's a lot of disdain and contempt for the current PA, but it's also routed at the Israelis, and they feel as though that every action that the PA attempts is undercut by current Israeli leadership, that they don't have autonomy, they don't have their own security. Somewhat, I think it's about 35% of the West Bank is still under Palestinian security forces, but the rest is still the Israeli security forces, about 65% or so, that can go in with impunity, arrest, detain. So that would be one of the sticking points: is
Yes.
can there be a state strong enough that can control and govern its own people?
Right. Now, I mean, just to get back to where we started, obviously this whole question is highly academic, with the Netanyahu government, with its hardline factions as a part of that, digging in the way that they have and the war raging. But this fighting has to end at some point. Is it fair to say that the plan being sketched together by Arab countries, with the USA part of that process, that will be where the pressure picks up as we get anywhere near some sort of solution and try to map a way into the future?
I think yes, but the big question mark that's hanging over the country right now is actually in the north with Lebanon and Hezbollah. If there is another conflict here, all of this gets put on hold, especially the Gaza question, the Palestinian question, the current state of Arab relations. You see the strains between Tehran, Iran, and Saudi already. They're apparently behind the scenes doing what they can to keep Iranian proxies from inflaming the region even more and scuttling the talks that are taking place, the attempts that are taking place to try and keep things going. But the northern border here is part of the conflict that goes really. It's remarkable to see how much coverage escapes from the daily fighting, where there's civilian casualties here. 6 Israeli civilians have been killed. An elderly woman was killed here just 2 days ago on the northern border by Hezbollah launching anti-tank guided missiles. So it's a very hot conflict, and if this erupts into something far greater, then all of the Arab world is going to have a very difficult time sitting down at the table over really anything.